Okay, third grade, it is time for reading, and guess what? We are reading maps today. So hopefully this can help you with your map project, and it's just going to make maps a little bit clearer for us. So um, before we get started on Comp Plus, there are a few things that I need to go over with you on the way directions are worded. Okay, there's two different ways that the author of our Comp Plus article is asking questions. Two different ways, and I need you to be very clear on what it means. So let me just give you some quick examples. All right, so here's my map that I did yesterday of Popcorn Island. Okay, so let me pull this up here. All right, so let's look at Colonel Mountains down here. Okay, and let's compare it to Cornstalk Forest up here. Okay, so we could say, if I was comparing these two, okay, I could say Colonel Mountains are blank of Cornstalk Forest. Colonel Mountains are blank of Cornstalk Forest. Okay, so Colonel Mountains, where are they in relationship to Cornstalk Forest? Well, the Colonel Mountains are south, right? They're south of Cornstalk Forest. So we would write it like this. Okay, we would write the Colonel Mountains are south of Cornstalk Forest because we're looking at these two locations and we're seeing where is this one in relation to this one. Okay, so the Colonel Mountains are south of Cornstalk Forest. So here's the Colonel Mountains. They are south of Cornstalk Forest because we can look at our compass rose and see that they're down here in the south, and this is up in the north. Okay? All right, so now let's try another way. So this is another way of that our author words it. Okay, so to go from Cornstalk Forest to Popcorn City, so here's Cornstalk Forest, here's Popcorn City. Okay, to go from Cornstalk Forest to Popcorn City, in which direction do I go? Okay, so I can look at my compass rose and I can see that I'm kind of going a little diagonally, right? I'm going a little bit to the west and a little bit south, so what would we call that? Right, we'd call that southwest. See how it's kind of going this way, and that matches up. So I would be heading southwest. Now, so I would say that Popcorn City is southwest of Cornstalk Forest. Okay? Popcorn City is southwest of Popcorn City. I'm sorry, Popcorn City is southwest of Cornstalk Forest. Okay, let's try one more, okay? So let's say that we're talking about the Orville Redenbacher Desert and the movie theater Canyon, okay? So I could say that the Orville Redenbacher Desert is blank of the movie theater Canyon. Okay, so how are these in relation? If I say this, the desert is blank of the canyon, I have to think, well, where is the canyon and which direction do I go to get to that place? And it would be north. Okay, so we'd say that this desert is north of the canyon. Okay, so it's kind of a different sort of wording, and we'll go through that on our exercise. So I want to just show you those things really quickly. Okay, so on page 105, you're going to be looking at maps, all right? And you're going to be using that compass rose quite a bit, so make sure you pay attention. So read that first paragraph with me. Authors sometimes, this is page 105. Okay, it looks like that. Authors sometimes include maps to help you understand what you're reading. A map is a drawing of an area or region. So think about all the times in our reading books or history books we have a map to help things be a little bit clearer to make a picture. And it's hard to understand the first 13 states until we see a map of those, okay? The maps are really going to come in handy next week when we talk about the Civil War. It's going to be very handy to be able to picture that instead of just reading the words. So a lot of times authors will include a map. Well, you know what a map key is. It tells what the symbols on the map mean, and the compass rose helps us give directions. And knowing how to read a map is important because maps show where you are and help you find the way to other places. And looking at a map can make the ideas you read clearer and add information you need to know. Okay, so let's take a look at this quick little map about how to get to Soldier Field Stadium. We've got our map key, okay? We've got a couple waterways, and we've got some places of interest. We've got our compass rose, okay? So this right here is the Soldier Field Stadium, and we can see that's down here, okay? And here we can see the Field Museum right here. The Field Museum is north of Soldier Field Stadium. The Soldier Field Stadium is south of the Field Stadium, or the Field Museum. See how that works? Okay, so let's read this paragraph. We're off to join 66,950 people to cheer for our favorite football team, the mighty Chicago Bears. We are traveling south on Lakeshore Drive. So look at where Lakeshore Drive is. Which way would you be heading if you were driving south? Right, we would be driving this way, south, right? Because we're following the compass rose. Okay, let's see what it says here. We're traveling south on Lakeshore Drive, so we're driving this way, okay? And we've already passed the Lincoln Park Zoo. So find Lincoln Park Zoo. Oh, it's the giraffe. Okay, so we've already passed it. And there's the Chicago River to the west. Okay, so there, and we look west, and it would be this way right here. And we once we see the Field Museum, we know the next stop is Soldier Field Stadium, because we've been heading south this whole time, right? Okay, so let's look at how the author words our questions, and let's be really careful, okay? So it says, what is located south of Field Museum? So that means what's to the south of Field Museum? So here's Field Museum. If you head south, what is it? It's the stadium, right? So you would fill in Soldier Field Stadium. Okay, the next question says, when you leave Soldier Field, which direction would you go to get to the Lincoln Park Zoo? So if we're starting here, and now we want to go to the zoo, which direction do we go? Okay, so you would be heading, look at your compass rose, we'd be heading north, wouldn't we? Okay, so let's look at the next page together that you're going to be reading about a zoo, a famous zoo. Read carefully all the information, because this is a reading assignment and you'll be answering questions about how well you read, okay? So read the story, and then you see that there is a map of the zoo. Map key, here are the different items on the map key, the symbols. Here's our compass rose. Okay, so take a really good look at that. And then let's look at the questions. So on page 107, number 1 says, how might you convince someone to visit the Lincoln Park Zoo? Okay, so we just wrote a whole essay persuading, right? So you know how it is to convince someone. So what reasons can you find in this article to persuade someone or convince someone to come to the zoo? Find the reasons in here. Question number 2 is an opinion question. What zoo attraction would you want to visit first? And then I want you guys to notice this, okay? So don't just say the name of the exhibit. You have to answer why. Why would that be the one you would want to visit first? Okay, now take a look at questions number 3 through 8.